Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. Here we have Death and Taxes versus Ant. Alex is going to be piloting D&T, while Tyler's going to be piloting Ant. Now, he's put in a lot of reps with this deck. Certainly still learning the archetype, but has put up some great results along the way. I'll tell you, at first, Ant, when you first start playing it, you haven't played combo decks, you are definitely going to be making some game-losing lines. Over time, you learn to avoid those, hone in on the best options, but it is a deck that requires some work to really play it and get all of those percentage points out of it. It is very powerful, so you can definitely start getting some wins fairly early on. The deck will gift you with some turn ones that anybody could play, but really finding ways around some of the hate bears and complicated board states that can happen in this format, the mark of a truly skilled player. And here we have Esper Sentinel, so Ponder leading off for Tyler. Now he's got Esper Sentinel, which is going to be taxing his future spells or giving Death and Taxes extra card draws. Here, valuing the fetch shuffle effect as greater than the Esper Sentinel, and then throwing a Thoughtseize. So essentially giving Death and Taxes a card, and then looking to take a card out of their hand. Multiple Thalias, Swords to Plowshares, and Aether Vial. Now jamming some artifacts. Thalia, of course, the core of Death and Taxes. Taxes reference to paying extra mana in order for your spells to resolve or be cast, as Thalia does. And the old saying about inevitability, eventually you just get beaten down by these bears. Lotus Petal and Lion's Eye Diamond, some accelerants. Right now, everything costs one more. Thanks to Thalia. Not going to be playing any creature spells here on the ad nauseum side of things. Aether Vial, core accelerant for Death and Taxes. And as that ticks up, note that Caracas becomes more and more of a problem. Even if this build has a way of dealing with Thalia, with Caracas on board, you can potentially bounce your Thalia and then put it back in with the Caracas, with the Aether Vial, I should say. And that's a major problem. Vial and Caracas do a really good job of keeping Thalia relevant, almost no matter what your opponent does. More damage chipping in. Get a double Rishadan port. And this is a lot of mana. 10 mana total. That actually does cover what Thalia requires. Lion's Eye Diamond adds to the mana. Rishadan port taps down. I mean, if Tyler has some type of accelerants in hand, rituals and Cabal rituals, this could be still winnable even with a Thalia on board, which is highly unusual. There we go. Cabal ritual getting 5 black. Rituals so key to the combo. Here, Dark Ritual, Cabal Ritual, of course, 2 black, 1 in the black to get 5. Now we have Infernal Tutor, cracking Lion's Eye Diamond. And I think this is going to easily do it just with what's on board. Despite having a Thalia, which is highly unusual. Cast in Flames now. Going to be a question of if there's enough in the bin to make this work. Definitely Cabal Ritual and Dark Ritual. You're going to net mana. I believe we still have Thoughtseize and some cantrips. He's a dangerous, if slow, hand in this situation. Oh, and actually, that's scooping it up? That looks like scooping it up. Wow. I mean, there was at least cantrips that could be played there. So that may have been scooping early. Unless, I mean, that didn't look deterministic either. I believe there was 7 mana floating. And I thought there was only 6 storm. Maybe I'm wrong there. No. I'm going to say that D&T just got that one. Let me know if I'm wrong in the comments. I just do these in one take. We got to get a video a day out here on the channel for you guys. We're now doing these images. If you like those, go ahead, give us a like and a subscribe. Let us know. It is a bunch of extra work. Of course, not editing the videos. We are just going through in one take, but going through beforehand, trying to find some relevant cards to queue up in a slideshow so we have some things to show you guys. If you're new to the format, be able to read the cards and understand exactly what these interactions are in just such a great format right now. Some people are getting a little salty about Ragavan and Urza's Saga, but I mean, the card pool is so deep in here. We got matches that don't feature any of those new cards. Well, Esper Sentinel. Yes, but nobody's really complaining about Esper Sentinel. That card seems like a fine inclusion in Death and Taxes. It's allowed for some different affinity lists as well. The Modern Horizons certainly adding a huge amount of cards, as did the first one. I mean, Modern Horizons is the closest thing to Legacy rotating as we've had since the inception of the format. Just a massive influx of new cards that are, some of them may end up getting banned. That's really not the end of the world. We end up better off than we were. We end up with more playable cards. And you know what? If some of them prove to be too good and get the axe, that's really not the end of the world. It's not like we're losing core building blocks, essentials of the format like Dual Lands or Brainstorm or Force of Will. These are just extra things that we wouldn't have had anyways if it wasn't for the printing of the set. So overall, I'm very happy with the Modern Horizons printings. You know, Ragavan, I've had some really fun games against them. Granted, it was with most recently with a combo deck that could actually interact on the board, Cephalid Breakfast. It does have a lot of bodies to throw in front of the monkey. So Paths and Flames, not quite enough to get there. So may not have given it all the credit it needed. I believe you could have like ritualed into some, or brainstormed into some additional fast mana. Lion's Eye Diamonds or Cabal Rituals, certainly helpful in that situation. Like we're going to be mulling. I will say this matchup, depending on who you talk to, it's really not obvious who's favored. I think it's totally skill dependent. You could talk to some players that feel like they beat Death and Taxes consistently with Storm and vice versa. And more often than not, it has more to do with kind of overall competency in the format. You're going to have to mull aggressively versus Death and Taxes. You're going to have a range of hands that either have answers to whatever hate that they might put out or just blitz right past it. Death and Taxes is one of the decks that literally, at least game one, is not going to be able to say anything about really anything that you have to do. If you're on the play, that's going to be 2 full turns with 0 interaction. It's really not until Thalia things become relevant. Game one. Got a Thoughtseize. I believe that was a Thalia. We've got Flicker Wisp, Mother of Runes, and Aether Vial. Not what you want to see. Going to be living off the top of the deck, hoping for some type of disruption. The Rashadan Port on its own, really not spectacular. Aether Vial does help, however, as it frees up the mana base to use Rashad Port. Ooh, Rest in Peace. This is an interesting card here. It's going to shut off the entire graveyard. Past in Flames now going to be blanked. While Ritual also much, much worse when you can't get to Threshold. And this is not ideal for Death and Taxes as the storm count is building. Infernal Tutor, no cards in hand. This is just going to be a mid-range Empty the Warrens. So despite having a hate piece, we're going to have an empty for 12. Mom hops in. Mother Runes can block and give herself protection. Going to be 10 or 11 damage coming in. See what Alex can do. Stoneforge Mystic would actually beat this from here. Seven damage comes across. Mother Runes taking down one of these goblins. Skyclave Apparition not going to be able to handle tokens. And we've got Flicker Wisp taking out a token, and 3 more being blocked. Seven damage. Just 2 points of life left for Death and Taxes. I don't think this is going to happen without a Batterskull, which is not accessible at this point. I think even a Flicker Wisp leaves things just a little bit shy. Gotta find a way to get rid of... Oh, there we go. Recruiter of the Guard. Oh, is this going to be exacts? I think so. I think we're going to see a Flicker Wisp get rid of one of these. 4 blockers for exactly the final 2 damage coming across. That is brutal. Everything turns sideways. It all blocks. And Ant just ekes that one out with exact damage. If Death and Taxes had just a single more point of life, would have had no problem, as they would have been completely stabilized against the Empty the Warrens plan. Of course, when you're sitting at low life, Tendrils of Agony does become a lot easier to be a lethal spell. You don't need nearly as much Storm if your opponent's dealing damage to themselves or has, taken a ton of damage from empty tokens. So Ant just barely pulling that one out. See what game 3 has in store. Death and Taxes on the play. Going to be looking for a turn 2 Thalia and hope to not have a turn 1 win deployed against you. Mulling down to 5. Got Karakas into Aether Vial. For sure, Rest in Peace in the sideboard. There's some more potentially problem permanents. Deafening Silence can be a real problem. Oh, and this is just a terrible hand. Batterskull alone in hand. Yeah, this is not mulling to a quality 5. This is just mulling to a garbage 5 and just hoping that your opponent fumbles at this point. I don't even know. What a mess. No interaction at all. Brainstorm plus fetch land. Tyler, I would not be surprised if he's going to be able to win right now, but there's really no rush. Of course, the top of the deck could deliver up a Thalia at any time, so if you do have the option, you're generally going to go for it here. Wasteland takes out Tropical Island. Rest in Peace takes out the Graveyard and eliminates that resource. Tyler now fetching, knows that he's facing down just a Batterskull and a Rishadan port. Brainstorm. Beautiful card choices here from Tyler, too. And here comes the Storm and mana tracking. Look like a basic forest. Have Wishclaw Talisman. This cannot be good. We have a whole ton of Storm. Death and Taxes can have the Wishclaw. The ad nauseum. Gonna be here. It's Storm 6, 7 total mana. Not very close to being able to Infernal for Infernal. So empty the Warrens, the end of the line there. Like 16 goblins. Wishclaw Talisman, though, could give Death and Taxes an out if they play one. I don't imagine that they do have a general sweeper like a Ratchet Bomb or Powder Keg. We're going to see. Of course, Tyler will get another go around. Wishclaw now. Mind. It'd be pretty brutal if they did actually have Ratchet Bomb in there. Esper Sentinel. Vile is on 3. Plenty of cards that exist in Magic that would save Death and Taxes, but not seem likely that those are going to exist. Is 75. So we have a ton of damage coming through. Looks like we're just going through the motions here. Yeah, nothing could be done. Oh, Cataclysm. There we go. Cataclysm, very interesting card there. So that could have been a sweeper if Alex actually had the mana. So that's a little bit of a heartbreaking draw step there. Not able to clear the board. Yeah, Cataclysm definitely. I don't expect to see that in versus Ad Nauseam. Usually that's more along like the decks that are running Planeswalkers, the grindier control decks. But, I mean, having access to it there, an interesting option, especially given that Wishclaw Talisman gives you a free tutor. But, right, I learned something there. Ad Nauseam, though, taking down this matchup in 3.